hello, once again, all my fellow patriots and you filthy leftist stalkers out there. You're listening to Angela's Soapbox. I'm Angela Box, and what a crazy last few days of this election is it going to be, y'all? So let's just jump right into everything. Given the sea turtle killing plastic straw, basically, I just want to have a drink of my Diet Coke, frankly. But I was gonna start with the non-endorsements of several major newspapers, which we will get to. But I wanted to start with this latest Joe Biden sabotage of Senator KNEEPADS. If you don't know what I'm talking about, we'll discuss it. Let's just give it to the flailing, terrible, no good, very bad campaign of Senator KNEEPADS, a.k.a. Kamala Harris. Okay, so as I'm coming to tape today, y'all, they're itching for a civil war. Like they really want a civil war. They're not going to let Trump just waltz into the White House. There's like no way they're going to allow that to happen. So I think everyone needs to be prepared in the next week for like some major stuff to go down. And so I'm getting ahead of myself. Basically, Joe Biden last night, Kamala Harris went out and did this, closing argument where there is hilarious. She did it on the Mall in Washington, and she's like, "We have to get beyond the rhetoric and the hatefulness." It's like, lady, you literally a week ago, you were out on the Rose Garden using your the seal of the President of the United States, standing behind it, calling us all Hitler and Nazis and calling Donald Trump Adolf Hitler. Like, what are you even saying? Like, these are the people who tried to throw Trump off the ballot in several states, who have thrown January 6th protesters in jail for 3 years with no trial, and in horrific conditions, I might add. The people that have gone out of their way to torment, torture, prosecute Donald Trump and anyone connected to Donald Trump in any meaningful way, trying to bankrupt these people. Like, what are you saying, lady? So the rhetoric that a comedian, which we will get to, that some comedian told at the most amazing MAGA rally of all time, like that's what you're got your knickers in a twist about. But obviously it's just an excuse. It's an excuse for them to go out and call us all Hitler again. So it's like, Hillary Clinton in 2016. I mean, this is so giving me 2016 vibes in many ways. Now, obviously, Hillary Clinton is a better candidate than Kamala Harris, like by any metric. Hillary Clinton obviously was at least, she's evil, but at least she's somewhat intelligent. Like Kamala Harris is a moron. Like she's like full retard at this point. But Hillary Clinton, obviously, everyone thought she was going to win. She was set up to win. The glass ceiling was going to be shattered. But yet, in the closing weeks of her campaign, she called Trump supporters just a basket of deplorables. And Joe Biden last night's like, hold my beer, because Joe Biden went out, and I'm going to see if I can find this exact quote because I want to be accurate here. But essentially, he called us all the Trump supporters like garbage people. Let's see. Okay, yeah, Donald Trump. This is what Joe Biden said. So this is in response to all the cacophony of the Madison Square Garden rally, which I watched from start to finish, and it was fantastic. And yes, Tony Hinchcliffe is a comedian, and he said something that probably wasn't the best venue for it. It's like, dude, read the room. Like, we're dealing with a media here that's going to jump on literally anything that could even be remotely considered off color. It wasn't the best place for it, but I understand where Tony Hinchcliffe is coming from. Like, Puerto Rico it's full of garbage. Like, there's article after article, you have to look for it, that talks about how Puerto Rico, because of their mismanagement, because of Democrats ruining it, like they ruin every other blue city and blue state, there's just garbage everywhere. So he's basically like, it's a floating land of garbage. And so, of course, Democrats are running with it, saying that, Trump is a racist, and Trump's Hitler, and MAGA's racist, and blah, 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 blah. Again, if you've got to explain a joke, it may not be the most successful joke, but I do think it was a joke nonetheless. And Tony Hinchcliffe was like, all right, you didn't like that one. And, to be fair, he was like, okay, that didn't land. Let me try some more jokes. And most of his jokes were great. Anyway, They don't care about that. They just want to call us all Hitler and Nazis, and they're setting up a situation where they're going to say, well, we can't certify this election because Trump is Hitler, and we've got to stop Nazism from infecting this country. That's what they're setting up. So, on that note, Joe Biden last night said, quote, Donald Trump has no character. He doesn't give a damn about the Latino community. Just the other day, a speaker at his rally called Puerto Rico a floating island of garbage. Again, context for that is that Democrats have destroyed it and there's garbage everywhere, which you can literally Google and find. It's hard to find because of the algorithms they set up, but those articles do exist. Quote, the only garbage I see floating out there is his supporters. Okay. So that's what he said. Hillary Clinton called this basket of deplorables in 2016. Joe Biden is calling us all, garbage supporters. Trump, the only garbage he sees are Trump supporters. Now, so you've got the correlation between, we've got the second woman to be the Democrat nominee. Hillary Clinton was the first. Kamala Harris is the second. They're in serious panic mode here. Because in 2016, they had the polls rigged to show that Hillary Clinton was up like by 6 or 7 points. They always oversample Democrats, and they're not able to catch, either the pollsters are doing it purposefully or they're just not catching the Trump voter. Because a lot of Trump voters are shy about being honest about supporting Trump because of the level of hate and vitriol that gets thrown at us. Now, I told this story in just a couple of years ago when the Let's Go Brandon stuff was going on. I put an FJB sticker on my car and a Let's Go Brandon sticker on my car. And I was at a Christmas party and I had my back seat full of presents. As you could see into my car, you could see this full of presents. I come out from this party. The only thing that was done was the back of my windshield was completely bashed in. It's like someone took a brick to it. Obviously, because of the stickers on my car. So it's like, those are the people we're dealing with here. These are the people who have been incited to riot, incited to try and kill President Trump. The media is fanning the flames. And now we have a situation where Trump is ahead now in several polls. And the fact of the matter is, if Kamala Harris needs to be ahead about 3 to 4 points nationally in order to win the Electoral College. Because what they're realizing is that obviously in some blue cities, blue states, there's more population. You're going to have a higher percentage of people supporting Kamala Harris. But Trump can still win the Electoral College. Well, now in these polls, Atlas, Rasmussen, even New York Times has Trump up by 1 in the last final election poll. Atlas has him up by 3. Sorry, there's my timer. I think Rasmussen has him up by 2. Anyway, the point is that it's not 2016. And if they're having meltdowns in 2016, calling us basket of deplorables and all the things, and yet Trump won, and Hillary Clinton knew that the cheating they had set up, she thought she had that in the bag. And the polls, again, the push polls, were they're called suppression polls, essentially. In 2016, they were like, okay, she's so far ahead. She's going to win this. Trump doesn't have a chance. And yet people went out quietly and voted for Trump. And I think that's what we're going to see here in 2024. And so the panic that they are experiencing, the deep set, 5-alarm fire, we've got everyone just like losing their minds over the Madison Square Garden rally, which again, it's like the more you call someone a Nazi or Hitler, it's like calling someone a racist. Like, it doesn't land. Like, nobody cares. Like, whatever. Call us whatever you want. We're still voting for Trump. And it's going to make people go out and look at the rally and actually go, okay, let me go watch this thing to see if what you're saying is true. And when you watch it, you're like, what the hell are you even talking about? When we get back, we're going to dive into that rally and my thoughts on it. And I've got some new information from the mole, the guy that's got people who are on the inside of Kamala Harris's campaign and what they're saying. So we'll hit all that when we get back. You're listening to Angela's Soapbox. Be right back. Okay, welcome back to Angela's Soapbox. this panic that Democrats are feeling, which is a different level of panic than they felt in 2016, because they have a terrible candidate. They had a terrible candidate in Joe Biden. They have an even worse candidate in Kamala Harris. And when Trump, talked about draining the swamp 8 years ago and talked about the uniparty 8 years ago, like it didn't click with most people. I mean, obviously, Trump supporters and people who voted for Trump, like, we got it. We saw it. But in 2020, if you want to think that Joe Biden won it legitimately, which I'm sorry, I hope one of the first things that Trump does is get a commission going to look at the 2020 election. Like, they're gonna do something. I mean, they're doing lots of somethings, and I'm gonna get to what my mole is saying. But in 2020, obviously, they did not think that Trump was going to win this thing. Again, the polling showed that Joe Biden was ahead by, like 7 points on average. So again, very similar to 2016, the polling was showing a Democrat landslide. And so what they realized is, again, the Trump voters are not being picked up in these polls for whatever reason, either on purpose or actually they're not being picked up. Quiet Trump support. And so when Trump was starting to run away with this, what they have to do in 2020? They had to shut everything down at 10:30 at night. They had to board up the walls. They had to pull suitcases of ballots out from under tables at 1 a.m, which it's funny. There's not a whistleblower, an undercover video that Steven Crowder's someone that works for Steven Crowder got. I'm not gonna be able to get into super details on this, but you should go look at this. It's all over X. By the way, happy 2-year anniversary of Elon Musk taking over X. I'll say this until I'm blue in the face. Elon Musk buying X is going to be looking back, is going to be a linchpin in history, a turning point in history, because now the world gets to see what people really think. They really get to see the information out there, as opposed to what Twitter was before, which was censored. And obviously, I got kicked off Twitter in 2020 for talking about election fraud, talking about the COVID vaccines, whatever. Like, all of us were kicked off for even speaking of such things. But Elon Musk buying it, whole different ballgame. So anyway, that's a side note. The video that's out there, and you should go look for it, is essentially an undercover journalist got this guy that's in Georgia to admit the things that they did in 2020, like kicking all the Republicans out, like shutting everything down and then pulling out ballots, suitcases of ballots, which it's wild that Ruby Freeman and her piece of crap daughter and some election guy are suing Rudy Giuliani into oblivion. And they did it I think they did it in New York, which of course they're going to get some ridiculous jury. And they're trying to seize all of his assets when Rudy Giuliani was rightfully saying, you're pulling suitcases of ballots out at 1:30 in the morning and dropping in ballots. And then all of a sudden, Joe Biden's got, 100% for Biden or 98% are going to Biden. These absentee ballots, which again, if you're shutting everything down, why are things being counted after everyone has gone home? So this whistleblower, this guy that was taped, is basically like, yeah, here's all the stuff they did in Georgia. And then, of course, you've got very corrupt, never Trumper individuals who are on the take, one way or another, in the names of Brad Raffensperger, Secretary of State, and Brian Kemp, the governor of Georgia, who hated Trump and who didn't want him to win. So what I hope one of the first things Trump does when he wins, if we can actually get him inaugurated and get him seated as president without a civil war breaking out, that's a big if. Again, I think that's the road we're headed on, sadly. I want the 2020 election looked at. I want to see what these people did, because we need to go back to paper ballots. And if we're going to do early voting, do it by paper, period. Just do it by paper. But if we don't want to do early voting, do one-day voting. That's it. Make Election Day a national holiday and make it precinct voting so people can go to their precincts and it's not some, insane amount of people. If you do it precinct voting, then it's not so hard to hand count. You have precinct judges and you have people watching and you have people from Republican and Democrat there to make sure that everything's on the up and up. Do it by precinct. I think it's very, very easy to do. But of course, Democrats don't want to do that because they need to cheat. Anyway, so basically, I think what we're dealing with here is a situation where the Democrats know their goose is cooked. The Democrats know that, Kamala Harris ain't cutting the mustard. Joe Biden, it's like, again, Donald Trump saying in 2016 that we've got to drain the swamp, that Washington is full of swamp creatures. It didn't land like it does now. And if you're of the opinion, which I am, that Trump purposefully allowed the coup to occur, the coup of 2020, denying him his rightful election, Trump could have been like, all right, guys, I'm going to open the books. I'm going to show everybody what they did. I'm not giving up power. I won this election fair and square. It wouldn't have worked. And he knew that. He knew that the American people were not there yet. Not enough people were awake to understand what the Democrats actually did. And so him trying to use the military or, open the books prematurely before the American people truly understood what the Democrats were all about, it wouldn't have worked. But we've had 4 years of these people with their absolutely destructive policies, with their opening of the border, with their inflation through the roof, and no energy independence, and all the things. And the petulant, bratty behavior of these people. They want to pretend. They know they didn't win. They know they did not win. They know that Joe Biden, who did not campaign from his basement, got 81 million votes. Like, sure, Jan. And, the cackling hyena, Senator KNEEPADS, did not get 81 million votes. Like, they know they cheated. But they also have to keep up the pretense they didn't. So they have to pretend that they have a mandate, which they do not, and they never did. And because they're petulant children, and they wanted to punish the American people, because there's no other way to look at it. There's no other way to look at the last 4 years, except as punishment for you and for me for voting for Donald Trump. For the American people to tell the American people, F you, and we're going to be flooding our borders with illegal aliens. We're going to have them, not just illegal aliens, but criminal illegal aliens, like murderers and rapists and drug traffickers and child traffickers, all the things. And we're going to completely open the border and flood it open and everything that they did. And because they're petulant children, they could never admit that anything Trump did was right. So that's why they just did the opposite. Like, everything that Trump did, they had to do the opposite. Just, they're children. They're dumb children, and they're a-hole children, but they're children nonetheless. And again, it was a way to punish the American people for voting for Trump. So here's what my mole is saying. Maybe I'll have to wait until the next segment to get to this. Yeah, I want to wait till the next segment. I want to give my quick wrap up of the Madison Square Garden rally. Let's see, there's my timer. I thought it was fantastic, and I think that the more people that go and watch it, they'll be like, "What Nazi rally? To what Nazi rally are you referring? The Nazi rally that has Holocaust survivors there, and Jews for Trump, and Vivek Ramaswamy, and all kinds of diversity on stage, like talking, like Democrats, like Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and former Democrat Tulsi Gabbard, like." What are you talking about? And I think this idea that Trump is building a team, and the people of America, his closing argument was like, here's the team I've got. I've got Elon Musk, who's going to go through government waste, basically did what Javier Milei did in Argentina and just start ripping up what's the word I'm looking for? Cabinet positions, and just start gutting the federal government of this waste and this swamp. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who's going to dive into what the FDA, CDC, the big pharma, big food, big corporations have done to our children and to this country when it comes to our diet and health, and look to see exactly what kind of chemicals are you putting in these foods to make Americans like fat and lazy, and basically allowing the enemy from within. And that's what Trump is talking about. The enemy from within, these deep state swamp rats, to take over the United States. And that's what Trump is talking about. He's not talking about your average Democrat voter being the enemy from within. He's talking about radicals, and he's talking about the puppet masters who are controlling these people. And again, I've said this a million times. the body positivity movement is connected to all of this, because what it does is it tells young women, and the slut movement tells young women, you can be fat, you can be a slut, you can, be a feminist, have as many abortions as you want. Why? Because they don't want people to procreate, and then they want to replace the American people with the third world, which is what they're doing. So again, Tulsi Gabbard, who became a Republican, I don't know what Trump wants to do with her. I think it'd be interesting if she was Department of Defense. Wouldn't that be something? I mean, I don't know. I just know that Trump is building it's not a team of rivals like Abe Lincoln did. It's a team of MAGA. It's a team of people who want to make America great again, period. Whether you're Democrat, Republican. I mean, Dr. Naomi Wolf, who, again, was not a Republican, not a conservative. She just endorsed President Trump. Like, okay, you guys have Dick Cheney, and you have some people in the Bush family, and you have Mitt Romney. Like, oh, congratulations. We've got actual, like, long-term, lifelong Democrats who are substantial people, who are not stupid, who are not bought and paid for, who are supporting Donald Trump. That's why it's going to be a landslide, guys, and that's why they're up to something. So when I get back, let's discuss what they're up to and maybe some of their strategy that they're going to be doing against us. You're listening to Angela Box Show. Angela's Soapbox. That's my other show. I'll be right back. Welcome back to Angela's Soapbox. Okay, let me read to you what my mole is saying, because it's interesting. Okay. So I asked him the other day, I was like, what's the latest? What you got? And he basically, okay. They want drama. They want conflict. They want a civil war. We've got a situation it's either Nevada or New York. They're basically going to be counting absentee ballots that have no postmark on them, as long as they're received after 3 days after Election Day. 3 days with no postmark. Like, this is wild to me. There's stories about in Pennsylvania, obviously one of the most important states, that KNEEPADS must win in order to have a chance to win the presidency, that Trump is ahead like by 3. People are waiting in line. They're being told, oh, you can't vote. Oh, the machines are broken, and you should go home. And there's this one Republican election worker that basically said, hey, everybody, make sure to just stay in line. She didn't say anyone to vote for. She didn't say vote for Donald Trump. No, she was arrested because she was telling people to stay in line. She was arrested by Democrat thugs. We've got other stories about drop boxes being set on fire in Clark County, in Vancouver, Washington, and I think somewhere else in Pennsylvania. It's crazy. Like, it's crazy what they're doing. Like, it's funny because they're the ones who wanted us to use drop boxes in 2020, because that was a way to harvest votes, obviously. And now they're like, no. Now the Republicans are outperforming Democrats in early voting. They're like, no. Go to the polls and use the machines. I mean, y'all, they're doing too much. So basically, I asked what I said, Supreme Court better step in on this, and they are. The Supreme Court, I think, is stepping in on an emergency situation with 2 different jurisdictions that are. There's one in Virginia. I can't keep them all straight, but the point is that the Democrats are bragging. Oh yeah, in Virginia, get this. Mark Elias, one of the garbage, demonic dirtbags that the Democrats use for their lawfare, Mark Elias, big Clinton guy, big Democrat guy, he said that they sued Virginia to keep non-citizens on the voter rolls. Like, wrap your head around that. And then he's like flexing on X the other day, like, hey, Republicans trying to disenfranchise voters, we just beat you. It's like, dude, you're bragging about keeping illegal aliens on the voter rolls. And so, of course, Glenn Youngkin's like, we're not doing that. He did an emergency appeal to the Supreme Court. Like, look, they're not going to let Trump just walk in and be president again. Jamie Raskin is out there. All kinds of these Democrats are signing this, like, basically broadcasting this idea that because Trump is Adolf Hitler, we cannot certify this election. That's what they're That's what they're going to try and do. Now, here's what my mole is saying. They want conflict. Joe Tato just saying the garbage thing, it's going to get worse. That's why the cheating is so blatant. Don't be surprised when they pull a truck up to the front of the polling places and unload boxes in broad daylight. I wish I was kidding. We are headed for either war or slavery. He goes, okay. Now, again, he's getting info from inside Kamala's campaign. So essentially, he likened his sources to house Negroes, to put it bluntly. He said, remember during antebellum times, slavery, where the house slaves would be just standing around and heard everything the master was saying? And basically that's how a lot of this Underground Railroad stuff got started, because of house slaves that were able to hear what the masters were saying. Like, I'm not saying that Kamala's security team are slaves. I'm not saying that, okay? I mean, I'm saying it's similar similar situation where they don't treat these security people like human beings. They treat them like houseplants, but yet these guys are all patriots and they all hate her, and they're having to like watch her and defend her and be her security, but they're talking. Essentially, the house slaves are talking. So he's saying that this is what they're telling him. And then he goes, okay, I was a little off. They were just pulling up with buses of God knows who, non-English speaking, cutting the line, etc., going to get worse. And so, yeah, eventually, I guess that's what they're doing right now. They're pulling up buses. I haven't seen anything reported on this, but let's give it a second. Let's see what they try and do, because it's going to make you like question your own sanity. And something else that is going to make you question your own sanity is the meltdown the left is having over the non-endorsements by certain newspapers. So obviously it's so funny. I was like, I can't remember where it was, but someone was like, oh, this is huge. The New York Times has written this amazing op-ed endorsing Kamala. It's like, oh, wow, I'm just shocked. Like, they act like, again, it's a flex that the New York Times, one of the worst deep state propaganda Pravda outfits out there, is endorsing Kamala Harris. So these non-endorsements now include Washington Post. LA Times was the first non-endorsement. And LA Times, which is one of California's main newspapers, obviously, and Kamala Harris is from California. She was the attorney general. So them not endorsing her is kind of a big deal, or a big effing deal, as Joe Biden would tell Barack Obama when it comes to getting socialized medicine, aka Obamacare. I can't. My pinball brain wants to go down that rabbit hole right now, but I'm not going to. Okay. LA Times was first, and then there was the Washington Post, and then there's USA Today. All three leftist rags. And the Washington Post one is the one that really sent them screaming, because essentially, it's Jeff Bezos' paper, and all the columnists and all the workers are like, oh, this is terrible. How could you not endorse Senator KNEEPADS? I mean, she's so amazing, and we must stop Hitler. And so it's like all the people, they're having paroxysms on X. It's funny. They hate X now that Elon's taken over, but they have nowhere else to go, because that's the biggest social media platform out there. Like, oh, Threads, Mark Zuckerberg's Threads. Yeah, that's going great. And, Truth Social, to be fair to Donald Trump, even though Truth Social, DJT Media jumped I think 21% after the Madison Square Garden rally. And Fred, my fiance, is like, I got some of that action because he's a money guy. Like Fred is saying the market knows that Trump is going to win, and the market is hoping that Trump wins and just hanging on for dear life until Trump wins. So anyway, what was I saying? Fred, the market, the Madison Square Garden rally, they know he's going to win. I can't remember. I swear, guys, my brain is so crazy sometimes. Like, I don't even remember what I was talking about 5 seconds ago. Basically, they've shot their wad. All right, they've shot their wad. The American people are done. And they want a civil war. They want a civil war. They want us at each other's throats. But I think what they're going to find out, I mean, obviously there's going to be cheating. They're going to be flipping votes in the machines. That's already happening. They're going to be, again, setting drop boxes on fire. They're going to be having illegal aliens vote. They're going to be doing everything humanly possible. But the American people just need to go, you know what? This is a linchpin moment here. This election is truly a linchpin moment. We're going to be slaves or we're going to be free. And the deep state, I do not think, is going to allow us to be free without a fight. And so they're gonna do something. They're going to do something. They cannot let Trump in because he knows too much. There's going to be too much prosperity and goodness and unity and coming together. Like, they can't allow that to happen because their world will explode. Their money laundering, their grift, their the ways to keep people in power. And on that note, I'm going to talk about the potential of the Diddy and Kamala connection when we get back for our last segment. All right, you're listening to Angela's Soapbox. I'll be right back. Okay, I take show notes every week, and I add stuff to my show notes like all week long, and I end up like not talking about anything. So let me look through these notes here. Oh, this is funny. I saw this on X. Kamala's closing argument. I'm an alcoholic. Check. I lost 330,000 children. Check. I partied with Diddy. That's what I want to get to. Check. I imported 20 million illegal aliens. Check. I don't know the first thing about the economy. Check. My best friends are communists. Check. And I hate America. Check. That's her closing argument. So the left is, losing their minds about a comedian, like telling jokes at a rally. Like they've lost their damn minds. It's all they have. Again, should he have said that joke in this environment where everything is taken out of context and everything is used as a weapon? No. But again, it was a joke. And, they don't care about Kathy Griffin holding up a severed head of Trump or these ridiculous, like, balloons they've got of him as a fat baby, like, mocking him. They don't care about that. They don't, they call us all garbage. They call us back deplorables. Like, they don't care about any of that. They call us all Hitler and Nazis. And again, it's just not landing the way it did 8 years ago or 4 years ago. The American people are done. We're absolutely done. They shot their wad in COVID, and during this last 4 years, like, the American people have woken up to them. It's not working. And Hollywood is over, by the way, like, over. Nobody cares about Hollywood. They know they're all perverts, and they know that the people that are in power or that get successful, there's a lot of smoke with that fire, that maybe these people that are all super successful, like, did certain things to get into the club. Isn't it? Because all the people who are coming and supporting Kamala Harris, like Oprah and Jennifer Lopez and Beyonce and Kamala Harris, and all these people may or may not have been friends with P. Diddy, may or may not have partied with Sean Combs, may or may not have some skeletons in their closets. So the rumor is that Kamala Harris, that supposedly this is going around X, and so I don't know, I haven't seen any receipts or anything. Look it up yourself. But evidently, George Santos, and I'm giving this a caveat here, okay? George Santos, who was the representative from New York, who told some lies about his resume and was basically kicked out of the House because of it. So again, caveating it, grain of salting it, okay? But he's not the only one who's saying it, all right? Several people are saying that the New York Times and the Washington Post and all these news outlets are basically sitting on the Kamala P. Diddy connection because they don't want to affect the outcome of the election. These are the same people, remember, that 4 years ago all said that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation and lies. And they knew from the jump that it was real. In fact, that's just come out that Catherine Herridge of CBS is like, yeah, my sources are saying they absolutely 100% knew it was real. And these 51 intelligence officers that all signed this letter, they all knew it was real. They were doing it to make sure that Joe Biden won the election because there was polls done when people realized that the Hunter laptop was real. that Joe Biden, the voters who voted for Joe Biden, between 17 and 25% of them would not have voted for Joe Biden had they known that the laptop was real. So obviously now they're doing the exact same thing with this P. Diddy connection, if it is true. And guys, please, does anyone think that there's not massive blackmail in Kamala Harris somewhere? Like, obviously, she's stupid. She's controlled. Nobody thinks that this dumbass is again, are we being punked here? Is this really the Democrat nominee for president? Was Joe Biden, Mr. 81 million votes, who can't speak, who can't walk in a straight line without falling? Like, are we supposed to think that this is the leader of the free world? No. Obviously, someone is running these people. That's what the American people are waking up to. All the things that Trump said, like, there is a deep state, and there's a uniparty. When you've got warmongers like Liz Cheney and the daughters of warmongers like Barbara Bush Jr. coming out and supporting Kamala Harris, and people whose sons were also on Ukrainian business energy companies like Mitt Romney, whose son sat on another Ukrainian energy board. Like, they're all, obviously, there's a deep state, there's a uniparty, and Trump has proven it with beyond a shadow of a doubt. Okay. So I think that this is probably true. And I think that the full meltdown, panic mode, stage 5 TDS that all of these people are having of the Madison Square Garden rally is going to be the template, is going to be the reason that they're not going to certify this election. You know, the people that said that that Republicans coming to the floor of the Senate with actual election anomalies, I'm putting anomalies in quotation marks because obviously there was massive election fraud, and it was done in so many ways. It was done in tandem, and it was done from the top down and the bottom out. Like, we know. Okay. The same people that said that, Trump started an insurrection because he wanted the swing states looked at, because it was very strange how they all shut down at the same time. And then so when we woke up in the morning, Joe Biden was magically ahead. It's like, well, hang on a minute. You all shut down at the same time. So shouldn't that mean that the counting stopped? Oh, no. You're a conspiracy theorist if you say that. So the same people that told us all we were crazy are now going to say that Trump is Adolf Hitler, and so we can't certify the election. That's what they're going to do. And they want the American people to rise up. They want us to rise up, and they want a civil war. They absolutely 100% want a civil war. And I said this last week, I'm going to continue to say it. The only way that doesn't happen is if we make it so overwhelmingly too big to rig. It can't just be like 1 or 2 percentage points. Trump's got to win the popular vote by 5, 6, 7, 10 points. Like, that's the only way we're going to avoid this. And even then, I don't know if we avoid it. But anyway, the Diddy stuff with the Kamala Harris is interesting. So this is Santos. The source alleges that the New York Times is holding back info and not reporting on a story due to fear it will hurt Vice President Harris on the final days of the campaign trail. The story allegedly places her at attendance of a white party hosted by Diddy a few years back, in which there was essentially bad behavior, and that she witnessed it. And so, this Nazi rhetoric, these are the same people, of course, who went out of their way to censor free speech. You're using the media to silence their political opponents. They threaten to take people's guns and livelihoods. And they put people who disagreed with them in jail, which is what they did with all the January 6 people, which, again, we literally fought a revolution over a speedy trial. That's one of the things in the Constitution. And these people are, I don't even know what to say. Like, they are beyond tyrannical. Our founding fathers would have been at war with them a long time ago. Let's put it that way. And so I think that we're going to have a reckoning. We're going to have a reckoning with this country, because they're not going to stop. And it doesn't matter how many people have woken up. They're not going to stop until we put them, like, fully, like, ground them down and put them in the dustbin of history. Otherwise, we're screwed, guys. All right, I could have done so many more topics, but that is my time. You've been listening to Angela's Soapbox, and make sure to listen to the Angela Box Show, which airs Saturdays at 8 a.m. and 11 a.m. on KNTH 1070 a.m. I also upload it to Angela's Soapbox on Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio. So make sure to check those platforms out for it. And until next time, everybody, keep kicking ass. And I want to stress, this is the last show until the election. So when I talk to you next week, we will know something. We may not know who won. We may not know what they're up to, but we're going to know some information by this time next week. So keep praying for our country. Keep praying for President Trump. And whatever you do, get out and vote. All right. Until next time, everybody, keep kicking ass and taking names. Peace.